Okay, hello and happy Tuesday. Thank you all for joining the Alumni Society today for the latest installment of our Microlearning series, which provides actionable advice and insights from members for members. I'm Christina Merrill, Member and Community Engagement and Communications Manager here at the Alumni Society and a proud graduate of Columbia. Today, I'm happy to welcome member Sylvia Banderas Coffinet. Sylvia is the CEO and founder of Asterion Advisory and an advisory board member of the Alumni Society. Sylvia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. A little bit about me. I am a seasoned media executive with nearly 2 decades of experience in leading and shaping some of the most recognizable media brands. I've had the privilege of working for brands like Town & Country, Latina, Glamour, People, Hello and Hola Media Inc., Vox Media, which includes powerhouse brands like Sugar, Thrillist, Now This, and my personal favorite, the Dodo. And most recently, I served as inaugural CEO of Latina Media Network. And beyond my executive journey, as you know and mentioned, I'm a proud board member of the Alumni Society, a Columbia University alum. So Roar Lions Roar. And what else can I tell you? My story starts in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, takes root in LA, and now is unfolding in the heart of New York City. So I'm excited to tell all of you about the importance of getting a coach and how a coach can help move your professional journey forward. So thank you for having me.
It's great to have you with us today. So folks, time permitting, we will open the floor for questions from the audience. So if you have a question for Sylvia, please feel free to go ahead and drop it in the chat and we'll try and get to it. So let's dive right in. So Sylvia, at our last leadership summit on stage, you called executive coaching a powerful secret weapon for high potential executives. And you said it's table stakes for exceptional leaders. Why do you believe coaching is non-negotiable for those who want to lead at the highest level?
Such a great question, Christina. Thank you for starting with that because it kind of gets right to the point. Executive coaching is often seen as a luxury, but the truth is it's not. If you are a high-performing executive navigating big moves, making bold decisions in, say, large, complex stakeholder management organizations, coaching is not a nice to have, it's a must have. And very likely your peers are getting that coaching or are relying on that. It's something that at this point is table stakes. There's no question about it. The best leaders can't afford to just wing it. And I think that one of the most important things to realize is that you don't have to walk this path alone. And as you walk the path of leadership and the higher you climb, it can get very lonely. And so one of the most important things you can do for yourself is to hire a coach and develop that. And obviously mentors and sponsors and all that good stuff. But a coach really does serve that specific purpose better than anything else. And a lot of times as we make these big leaps as leaders, we start to crave clarity, alternative perspectives, continuous growth. And in many ways, that's exactly what coaching delivers. So, one of the things that you can count on, and we can actually put up that slide now, just because it sort of bullet points it. Here we go. A good executive coach can do a lot for you. But if I were to just sort of say, give me what are the 4 things that I should be able to get and count on. One is to be able to make sharper, faster decisions in high stakes situations, to elevate your executive influence and presence. A lot of times it's about narratives and reframes and what we're telling ourselves and being conscious of that. So one of the things I've learned in coaching is that there's no more valuable conversation than the conversation the client has with themselves that they don't know they need to have. And that is where so much just opens up for you in terms of your own executive presence, your values, how you see yourself, your personal brand, what you stand for. Another big opportunity is when you're in the middle of a major transition or a major challenge, and being able to navigate that with confidence. And finally, I think one of the most important things a good coach does for you is it helps you, or they help you uncover your blind spots. As I said earlier, we tell ourselves a lot of narratives. And so one of the most important things we can do is really put or shed some light on what those narratives are in order to be able to see what's maybe holding us back from taking a bigger leap, or are we buying into a false narrative that isn't serving us as executives? So that's even more important, I would say, for Latino professionals, because many of us were raised with this idea that if we just work twice as hard, if we just grind it out. But I'll be very honest with you, having experienced this myself, hard work alone, no matter how talented you are, will not get you to the C-suite, but strategic planning will. So bottom line, if you're serious about leading at the highest levels, coaching is not a nice to have, it's table stakes.
Amazing. And let's take a moment to define an executive coach. What is an executive coach and what is their purpose?
Sure, that's also a really great question. At its core, coaching is a partnership between peers. So you're co-creating a partnership that is meant to serve the client. It's all in the service of you, the client. So in a perfect relationship, a coach is a space, or can build a space where you can step away from your daily grind, think strategically, have a thought partner, a collaborator that will help you challenge yourself in ways that will drive your personal growth. A great coach will help you relieve yourself of your mental clutter, serve as a recharging station. I think one of the most important things is when you're busy, you rarely take time to give to yourself, to think about you and your needs. And as a coach, often I find myself serving as this like re-energizing pad, and I can see how different a client starts from where we, when we started the conversation to where they end, and they're just in a different mental space because they've had time to think through and care for themselves in a way that often when we're in the day-to-day and the hustle and bustle, we don't get to do that. So that's really important. But equally important, Christina, I think it's also about understanding what a coach is not. And so I think we have a great slide that kind of tells a little bit about this specifically, but here's what a coach is not. And it's important to keep this in mind. A coach is not your therapist. They're not here to unpack your past. We're here to elevate your future as coaches. We're not tactical consultants. We're not there to help you work on a specific project. We're not mentors giving you advice. And above all, it's not about fixing you. This isn't a conversation around waving a magic wand about, how do I, yes, obviously, how you can do a lot of things better. But this isn't about fixing you in any way. It's about helping you sharpen your instincts, push your thinking, and unlocking your next level of potential. And that often looks like helping you see around the corners so you can anticipate challenges before they even happen. That looks like pushing you to be more accountable and go beyond your comfort zone with boldness and clarity. Giving you honest feedback that often the higher you climb, the harder it is to get, right? The more powerful you are in your role, the less likely it is that somebody will give you some honest labeling and tell you the truth like it is. And so a coach can do that for you and can serve as a reflection that will help you see the picture a lot clearer.
That's amazing. So on that note, when would a professional benefit the most from using an executive coach? At what point in one's career would an executive coach be the most helpful?
I mean, I personally think it's always helpful, but it's most helpful when you are ready to level up, um, and you need a clear game plan, right? So whether you're stepping into a new role, you're tackling a big promotion, you're making an industry pivot, or the opposite can be true. You're feeling stuck. You're feeling like you've reached a plateau. You know that you're meant for more, but you don't know where to go. Um, or when you're taking on bigger, major like leadership challenges, like a change management moment, or simply when you just need to sharpen your edge. Um, I think that that's really, those are great times to think about getting a coach.
Amazing. Thank you. And during our prep for this session, you said that executive coaching remains an underutilized and misunderstood tool, especially among Latino executives. Why do you think this is?
I think three primary reasons. And I love this question because I think it really hits to the heart of why I am so passionate about doing this. Um, I would say the first big reason is lack of awareness. We just don't think or really understand the value of what coaching is or what it can do for your leadership journey, and how game changing it can be. So, just like overall lack of awareness. Perhaps most important, our cultural mindset. Many of us were raised to believe that, success is going to come from grinding harder, working twice as hard, asking for help is a weakness. And also, we have a sense that maybe it can be indulgent. I think that was how I felt for a very long time. I was like, oh, that just sounds so self-indulgent, like coach, like what else are they going to come up with next? But in reality, it's not. It is an investment in your leadership. And I would say that access and representation is also a really big part of this formula. There aren't enough Latino executive coaches who understand our cultural experiences. Many of us are los primeros, we're trailblazers, we're the first, and we're navigating this world where we're trailblazing and trying not to set ourselves on fire in the process. And unless you've been through that and you're like, child of an immigrant, you're the first to go through these things, you don't understand how overwhelming it can be or how ingrained it is in us to feel that we don't have the right to ask for support or help because we're just meant to figure it out. That's what we've always done as trailblazers, as first of, primeros, primeras. And so this is why I think I am so passionate about this work, because our community is not lacking in talent. It's not lacking in ambition. I mean, we've got that in abundance. But what we do need are more tools, more access, more of us thriving at the highest levels so that we can help others navigate these waters that have, for many of us, been uncharted, right? And so we can then help build a map and also pull up some chairs, and extend the table. So honestly, coaching for me, especially for Latinos, I feel like it was a calling, having gone through what I went through, having had some great coaches that have made a real difference, or some coaches that have not, and that also made me learn a lot. Coaching can be one of our biggest unlocks, to help build a stronger pipeline of executive leaders.
Amazing. And in your experience, what are some of the top reasons Latino executives in particular will give you to not use an executive coach?
Yeah, I mean, often I use myself as an example because for so long I was reluctant. Um, the biggest one I hear is, I don't need help. Why? I don't need help. I'm fine. I know what I'm doing. I'll just work really hard. that our strengths can sometimes be our greatest challenges, right? Because we're so used to just doing it. We're so used to just figuring it out, hustling harder, grinding it out harder, and not seeking support. I think that there is an unconscious bias in many of us where we feel like asking for help in any way makes us weaker. And that's just not true. Good leaders surround themselves with support networks. You definitely want a thinking partner. You want to be able to have time to process all that you have going on when you're running complex organizations. And so I think that's one. The second one is that it can feel like it's too expensive. I think that many of us have been taught to be financially cautious, to save, to avoid unnecessary expenses. But if we flip the script for like even a minute, the cost of staying stuck can be very expensive. And we're missing out on opportunities often because we feel like coaching can be such a splurge. But again, your peers, your competitors may have access to coaching that you don't, and that gives them a competitive edge. So we can't forget for a minute that we're all competing as we climb for the same seats, and we already have, enough that we're holding as we climb. And finally, and perhaps my favorite, because this is the one I was the guiltiest of, is I don't have time. Yeah, it's true. Between leading teams, managing up, balancing family, it does feel sometimes like it's just one more thing to do. But struggling through challenges alone can eat up so much time. That thought rumination takes up so much time and energy. The lack of sleep because you're not clear on something takes up so much time and energy. Coaching, actually, one of the best things about it is that it helps you move faster because it can help you sharpen your decisions, reclaim your energy, and focus on what truly matters. And once you sort of sat with it, it's not ruminating, it's not sitting there, it's not living in your head rent free anymore. You can move on. And that is invaluable. As someone who's gone through that quite a bit, I can tell you that's very much the case. So it's really about unlocking the leader that you're meant to be. And I don't know how to say this enough, but there's no better investment than the investment you'll make in yourself.
Amazing. Thank you for getting, so personal. And so on that note, how do you find an executive coach? Where do you even start?
First is I always recommend your network. Finding the right coach is a little funny because it can be kind of like dating. There's a lot of chemistry that's involved. You might have the most perfect person on paper, but the chemistry is not there. You're not going to be comfortable. So I would start with your network, ask for referrals, ask around, definitely do your research, check the credentials. I think that's critical. Look for an ICF accredited coach. That's the gold standard. And ask about their formal training as well as their leadership experience, because training really matters and you get what you pay for. Sometimes, one of the hardest things about the coaching industry is that anyone can call themselves a coach. And so that can sometimes not be great because, well, for all the obvious reasons, but primarily because it's a highly unregulated industry. And so you might, you might, if you don't do your research, you might find that the person you hired doesn't have the real credentials around behaviors and cognitive science and frameworks and all the important work that really goes into helping you. And you know, a bad coach can do harm. A coach that doesn't understand ethics, for instance, could do irreparable harm to your career. So you do want to do your research, and also find your niche, right? Think about, what is it that you really want? Are you looking for a coach that understands media? Are you looking for a coach that understands the world of finance? If you're learning about managing a board for the first time, you probably want a coach who's had experience managing a board. I would say it's a combination of education, formal training, and ethics, chemistry, combined with what you're really looking for, because there's all sorts of different types of coaches, right? If you're a new parent and maybe you're getting back into the workforce, there's a coach for that. So I really think it's about your personal needs, having that self-awareness, tapping your network, doing your research, and above all, interview a few. Don't just go with the first person. You know, sometimes you might find that if you interview 3, you'd be surprised. You thought you were going to go with somebody, and then the last person just was like, okay, this is really what I need. And like I said, it's like dating. Until you feel that chemistry, you won't know for sure.
Amazing. Thank you. And so on that note, what would you say are the key questions you should ask an executive coach before you commit?
I like asking about philosophy and methodology. They should have both, and they should be able to give you concrete examples and frameworks. I like to look at experience a lot. I mean, I'm somebody that's very ambitious, and if I'm investing in a coach, it's for the very specific purpose of growing in my professional career. So I want to work with someone who has not only become a coach, but who maybe has gone through the corporate ladder and climbed up and understands the challenges around that. So, I would ask the question, what's your experience coaching professionals at my level? I would ask the question, how do you measure success in coaching? And how do you tailor your coaching to my individual needs? And I think that that's a really important one, because you'll get a big sense from that conversation around their answers around process, their training, their experience, and how confident they are in answering those questions, because they should be really confident in giving you their value proposition without any hesitation.
Amazing. Thank you. Now let's dive into that very sensitive topic, cost. What should professionals expect to pay an executive coach, and for how long?
I think pricing can vary. So I just want to start by saying that pricing varies a lot depending on on the coach's experience, their training, and the level of coaching that they're doing. So pricing usually for early career will range between 200, like really early career, 200 to 400 per session. Usually a session is an hour. And most people like to do 3 to 6 month contracts. That's when you can really get the most benefit. Executive level coaching. So, somebody that is SVP and above, you can expect to pay for a good coach. Usually the average is around 500 to 1,500 per session. And then top tier coaches can bill up to $25,000 per engagement, depending on, what they're working on or the duration. And usually that will be like a 6-month contract, for instance. I really think that it depends on you. Like I've had a couple of people who have just said, I have a very specific power hour need, and I've taken them on mostly as mentees and then decided to help them through their journeys and do like power hours. But I don't really recommend that. I think if you really want to get the highest ROI, you're looking at a 3 to 6 month investment. And you're looking at, an investment. You're going to get what you pay for.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we have one more question, and we do have a question in the chat. So our last question is, on that note, how do you make yourself coachable and set yourself up for success in order to maximize a coaching relationship?
That's a great question. Self-awareness is everything as it relates to leadership and coaching. So if you're self-aware, you're a great leader. Be open to feedback. Are you really looking to grow? Growth, isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable, and that's really where like breakthroughs happen. So you have to lean into some of these more difficult conversations. And again, these are all conversations you're having with yourself. Those are the ones that change the game. Do the work. Be accountable. Be present. Coaching is not like getting advice from a friend or a mentor. Coaching is not listening to a podcast in the background. Your biggest wins are going to come from really applying what you learn real time, holding yourself accountable, setting big goals. Like the more you give, the more you're going to get. Stay accountable, trust the process. Big shifts don't happen overnight. Some of the best insights take time, and you got to stay the course. If you've done your due diligence and you believe that you've hired the right person, then you kind of have to surrender a little bit to the process and stay the course.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And we do have a question from Jerry Rivera. How frequently should someone meet with a coach?
It really depends on their goals. Again, everything is very individualized, and you and your coach will determine that. In a perfect world, every other week or every week is usually what people do.
Amazing. All right. And that's all the questions we have for now. Sylvia, thank you again so much for being here today and sharing your insight. You have some truly great experiences in this area. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. How can members get in touch with you?
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining today. I hope the session inspired you to think differently about coaching to elevate your career. And please feel free to keep in touch with me via LinkedIn. Regardless, even if you just want to connect on a personal level, I'm always involved with the Alumni Society and excited to connect with all of you. And check out my website, www.asterionadvisory.com, if you're interested in my services. Thank you so much.
Amazing. All right, to our audience, thank you again, Sylvia. To our audience, if you are interested in sharing your knowledge and insights in an upcoming microlearning series session, email us at members@thealumnisociety.com with your idea. Thank you all again for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Christina. Thanks, everyone.
Sylvia.